So for the past year, I've been using the DZO Arles lenses on many paid productions, commercial work, documentaries, short films, YouTube. Now, I can confidently say that these lenses look way more expensive than they are. Now, DZO is not sponsoring this video, but we do have a sponsor, and that is Arles, but more on them a little bit later. Now let me explain why these have quickly become probably my most used prime lenses that I've ever owned. First of all, I own the A and the B set. So I've already done a video on the A set. If you guys want to watch that, I'll leave a link down below the like button. But basically the A set covers more of your traditional focal lengths. So you have 25, 35, 50, 75, and 100 millimeters. Now I gravitate towards more on the B set, which has 14, 21, 40, 135, and 180 millimeters. Obviously more unconventional, and personally I just prefer these focal lengths, but obviously having or owning A and B sets basically has me covered for just about any project. Now, before we get into the look, let's go ahead and go over some quick technical details. So all of these lenses are going to feature a 95 millimeter front diameter, and inside, if you want to thread on a filter, it does have an 86 millimeter thread size. Now, all of them are gonna have 16 blade irises with a 270-degree focus throw, which personally, and I probably think you guys will agree, the longer the focus throw, at least for cinema, it's much better because you get that precision. It's not a photo lens, obviously it's a cinema lens. The other thing is you can interchange the mounts. It does come pre-installed with PL mounts, but you also get EF mount if that's your cup of tea. Lastly, in terms of weight, they are on the heavier side in comparison to other lenses at this price point or even lower. So just keep that in mind. They're gonna range about 3 to 4 pounds. So if you're running a small mirrorless camera, it does tend to get heavy. So a real quick note before I show you guys the footage. As I said, I've used these lenses across multiple projects. Some of them were personal, some of them were paid. Some of them I was part of a larger camera team. So not everything that you see was shot or DP'd by me. I wanna give credit where credit is due. So I'm gonna leave links to all of the productions and the people that were involved in crafting some of these beautiful images. Lastly, I am using the 40 millimeter to film this talking head paired with the Ursa 12K, which I think is a beautiful combination, and I'll explain why in a second. And I'm also filming an open gate. Hopefully that doesn't piss off some of the camera nerds. But anyway, let's go ahead and take a look at some of the images. So what I really like about the Arles is they have a very natural look. Like it's neutral, it's got a little touch of warmth, and because of that, skin tones look rich, the contrast is clean and punchy, and nothing feels overly processed. Now, personally, I think they walk that perfect line between sharpness and creaminess. I mean, case in point, I'm shooting wide open, face is really nice and sharp, but you got that creaminess in the background, which is very rare at this price point. And that's what I really like about these lenses. When you shoot them wide open, they have this really gorgeous fall off. I mean, it's subtle, you get that 3D separation because it's still sharp, and the bokeh just feels intentional instead of messy or being distracting. Something else that I really like about these lenses is that they have a large format look that really stands out compared to any other lenses that I've ever used. You pair this with like a camera like the Ursa 12K LF, shooting an open gate, and everything just feels bigger, almost IMAX-ish. It just adds this like scale and depth to the image that cheaper cine lenses almost never deliver. So let's go ahead and talk about performance, which I think is an area that these lenses really shine. So chromatic aberration is pretty much non-existent. It is very well controlled, even wide open. There's no color fringing like you normally get with a lot of budget cinema glass. Now, in regards to sharpness, as I've shown you guys, even wide open, there's a lot of detail. And even when you stop down to a 5.6, obviously it's going to be sharper, but it's not gonna look clinical and disgusting because you're still gonna get that beautiful roll off on the edges. Everything is gonna be nice. You'll get more of a pop and 3D effect, but it's so smooth and clean. Now, when it comes to flaring, they're very well controlled compared to other lenses at this price point. I think that is a pro, especially if you're going to be using these for corporate work. They're not gonna have a lot of crazy character or a bunch of flares, but they do have some impurities and orbs that I know some people had issues with. You can kind of see it somewhere like right there. So it just really depends on what you're looking for. Obviously, if you want something more stylized, look into the DZO Arles Luster. I actually tested those out and those flare like crazy. In fact, a little bit too much for my liking, but I think when it comes to flaring, it's gonna be one of those things that it just really depends on the look that you're going for. And obviously, it's gonna be a personal preference. Now, one of my favorite things about these lenses is the minimum focus distance, which I find extremely useful, especially if you're filming documentaries or are in tight spaces. For example, when we were filming Shane's masterclass, we often found ourselves tied up in a corner or right up against Talon or Shane, and being able to get that close without needing diopters or going wider on our focal length, again, was extremely useful. And had we used any other lens, we probably would have been in trouble. Now, since I'm talking about the masterclass and you're seeing footage, you're probably wondering, why are you talking about an 18mm lens? Like, when did you say there was an 18mm? So DZO actually gave me early access to this 18mm that's coming soon, or it might already be out by the time you guys see this video. But anyway, so this is not part of the B set. This is just another lens that they sent out and I used it. So on that masterclass, we use this lens pretty much religiously on A cam. Like, I don't even think we took it off once. On our B cam, we use the 40mm, which I feel like it lived on that camera for like 90% of the time. Occasionally we swapped here and there, but for the most part, 18 and 40 between our A and B cam. These lenses, if you're doing docu style work, I think is like the perfect combination. So after using the Arles for almost a whole entire year now, the reason I keep gravitating towards them is because of how great the image is. It's clean and sharp to be able to use on commercial projects, but it still has plenty of character and personality that I can use for any type of narrative work. So a lot of lenses tend to swing in one direction. You have lenses over here that are sharp, clinical, but boring. And then on the opposite side of the spectrum, you have lenses with character, stylized, but maybe too outlandish. The Arles sit right in between the middle. You have a lens that's sharp, not clinical, but a lot of detail, but then you also get a lot of character, but not outlandish. And having that perfect balance is very rare, and it's what makes these lenses so special. So we're getting closer to the end of the review, and it would be weird for me to not point out any of its flaws. And personally, I don't think there's very many. I mean, I did mention the flaring, which honestly is a personal preference. There is one thing that is somewhat of an issue sometimes, that could be an issue for you, is the weight and size. Personally, I don't mind it being heavy and bulky. I mean, it's fine with me. I can rock it. I have an easy rig. But for run and gun, if you're doing weddings and stuff, I'm not sure that's going to be feasible. Again, sometimes I do run and gun, and if I try to put all these lenses in a backpack, it's just not gonna work. It's impossible. I don't wanna also carry these cases. They're just too big and bulky. The other thing is the price. They're not cheap, and I know these lenses are not for everyone. I know the word budget gets thrown around a lot. In fact, I do it myself too. And when I say budget, we're comparing them to higher end cinema glass, like RE Master Primes or Cooke lenses, which tend to be 3 to sometimes even 5 times more. But with that in mind, these are not cheap lenses, but when you see the value of what you get, it's actually pretty impressive. So yeah, this is my review on the Arles lenses that I've been using now for over a year. Love these lenses. If you guys want to buy them, you can use the link down below in the description. It doesn't cost you any more money, but it does help out the channel. My name is Armando. Thanks again for watching, and you will catch me in the next one. Adios.